Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan. I am coming to you live from, as you can probably see and hear, a very sunny and very windy Skyline Field in Brookline, Massachusetts. I'm here to bring you live coverage of some high school girls soccer action between, honestly, two of the better teams in Division I this year, the visiting Red Hawks of Natick High School and the hosting Warriors of Brookline High. This should make for an excellent contest. Off the bat, I'm just going to say, last time I covered a game here at Skyline, Wi-Fi was a little shaky, so if there's some buffering throughout this live stream, I apologize in advance. If it ends up getting really egregiously bad, I will post a recorded version after the fact. I am recording this, so I have a backup in case things get really bad. But here's hoping they don't, because this is going to be one heck of a contest. And you know how I know that? Is because I saw the last time these two teams played and just how good both of these programs are. In the latest rankings from the Boston Globe, which are as of a couple weeks ago, as of October 5th, so a little bit far back, to be honest. But Brookline was ranked number 8 in the state, number 8 in the Boston Globe rankings at that point. Natick wasn't ranked, but I'll tell you, that's a crime. That is not a fair assessment of their abilities. For a more fair assessment, looking at the MIAA Power Rankings, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association's Power Rankings, Natick is number 5 in Division I girls soccer with a very impressive record of 9-0-2. And this is the latest information, because this is as of just 2 days ago, October 17th, that this was updated. Brookline, meanwhile, 17th in the rankings, but their record's still pretty impressive at 10-1-1. That one loss, however, came at the hands of these Natick Redhawks over in Natick's neck of the woods a couple weeks back. And what's more amazing, Natick so far the only team that has scored on Brookline all season. That was a 2-0 loss in a torrential downpour for Brookline. They fell to Natick 2-0. That is so far the only loss on their record and the only goals scored on them all year. Everything else has been a shutout win. So without further ado, as we get ready for this grand rematch, let's take a look at the rosters. We'll start real quick with the visiting Red Hawks of Natick High. Going in order of jersey number, first off, we have a junior, number 0, Cricket Lemon. A senior co-captain, number 1, Allison Jeter. A freshman, number 2, Megan Mila. A sophomore, number 4, Maya Schwab. A junior, number 5, Emma Grant. A freshman, number 6, Stella Bogus. A sophomore, number 7, Angie Levy. A junior, number 8, Emma Tavila. A junior, number 9, Zoe Graves. A senior co-captain, number 10, Kira Hacker. A senior, number 11, Michaela Henderson. A junior, number 12, Carolina Holanda. A sophomore, number 13, Sahej Gulati. A junior, number 14, Maggie Lagan. A freshman, number 15, Allegra Gagnon. A senior co-captain, number 16, Briar Grady. A senior, number 17, Abby Beigel. A junior, number 18, Eliza Campana. A senior, number 19, Keo White. A freshman, number 20, Cassidy Moriarty. A freshman, number 21, Kira Henderson. A freshman, number 22, Kendall Hacker. A sophomore, number 24, Caitlin LeBrun. And finally, a freshman, number 25, Olivia Penn. Head coach of the Natick High girls soccer team is Dave Wainwright, with assistant coach Kayla Steves. So that is the roster for the visitors, the Natick High Redhawks, coming in with an impressive 9-0-2 record. And now looking at the 10-1-1 home team, Brookline Warriors. Also going in order of jersey number. Starting off, we have a freshman, number 1, Vilena Chernichev. A senior co-captain, number 3, Hope Leshley. A senior co-captain, number 4, Zoe Fagnan. A senior, number 5, Ansley Washburn. A junior, number 6, Sarah Gonzalez. A senior co-captain, number 7, Mila Seifert. A junior, number 8, Sari Frankel. A junior, number 9, Hannah Whited. A sophomore, number 10, Amra Ukamadu. A junior, number 11, Madeline Moore. A junior, number 12, Celia Marinus. A junior, number 13, Gianna Pentland. A senior, number 14, Kellen McNamara. A junior, number 15, Cecilia Wager. A senior, number 16, Kendall Fries. A senior, number 17, Nilufar Dadgar. A freshman, number 18, Anna Leshley. A freshman, number 19, Sydney Fries. A senior, number 20, Liv Ernst. A junior, number 21, Phoebe Shea. A junior, number 22, Eleanor Bergstein. A senior co-captain, and also wearing number 0 as a goalie, Juliana Anastopoulos. And then a junior who wears the goalie jersey number of 00, Talia Thompson. Rounding out the roster, we have number 27, Alex Levy. Head coach of the Brookline High girls soccer team is Rob Sprague, with assistant coaches Ben Peters, Andrew Sell, and James Moradian. So that is your roster for the hosting Brookline High Warriors as they get ready to face off against a tough foe, to say the least. Like I said, Natick, the only team who has beaten Brookline, heck, the only team that has scored on Brookline so far this season. All other 11 games for the Warriors so far this year have ended in shutout wins and a single shutout tie against Newton North. But on September 28th, out at Natick's Memorial Field, I believe it is called, while playing in a torrential rainstorm through much of the match, the result went to the home team Redhawks 2-0. The goals came from Briar Grady on a penalty kick after Eliza Campana drew a penalty in the box, and then Campana delivered on the insurance goal herself. So, no question, Eliza Campana, one to watch out for, and even though she only scored on a PK, don't underestimate Briar Grady. Her presence in the midfield was a big part of that contest. She was absolutely critical in the transition game. It'll be interesting to see the matchup between her and the other middies for Natick against Brookline's middies, led by senior co-captain Hope Leshley. Leshley and Grady, both two players that have a good eye for the ball. They got a big physical presence in the middle, combined with some, good instincts and some agile moves. They're able to affect the transition game very well. So that's going to be a battle in the middle of the field that you got to watch out for. And then, of course, got to watch out for the offensive versus defensive matchups. Like I said, Eliza Campana, a big offensive threat to watch out for on Natick's side. On Brookline's side, their most electric scorers have been a pair of underclassmen. The sophomore forward, Amra Ukamadu, has so far tallied 4 goals and 3 assists to lead the team in points, and freshman Anna Leshley not far behind, as she tallied her 4th goal of the season on a header score in the 1-0 win over Braintree last Thursday. which was, of course, assisted by Ukamadu. Defensively, no question, the senior co-captain Kira Hacker leads the defensive squad for Natick High. And for Brookline, no question, their main center back has got to be the junior Cecilia Wager. She's stepped up in a big way. Wasn't really getting any time on the pitch last season, and she has stepped into a huge role and stepped into it well. And of course, not to be underestimated, the team's other center back, freshman Sydney Freeze. She's another underclassman that has stepped into a huge role for the Warriors this season and really done an excellent job. I mean, 11 shutouts out of 12 games really kind of speaks for itself. And then, of course, the goalie matchups, I expect this to be co-captain versus co-captain, and we'll confirm when we see the goalies come out. But it should be Natick's Allison Jeter against Brookline's Juliana Anastopoulos. Natick so far representing the one blotch on Anastopoulos' otherwise perfect record between the pipes this year. Like I said, everything else has been a shutout win for Anastopoulos. And as we see the Natick Redhawks coming out on the field, it is indeed number 1, Allison Jeter, who will be playing in the net for the Redhawks. While for Brookline, it will be number 0, as I guessed, Juliana Anastopoulos. I apologize for the wind noise. Nothing I can really much do about that. We are getting into the windier days of the New England autumn. And we are playing on a field on a hill here. There's a reason they call it Skyline, and it's because it's got that elevation. And it'll be interesting to see how this wind impacts the game, particularly when it comes to things like goal kicks or clearing kicks, or maybe even floating passes. I mean, Brookline is a big fan of using those floating passes over the defense and relying on the speed and physical presence of Amra Ukamadu to gain the edge on her defenders in order to get a good chance at the net. But when you've got wind blowing this chaotically, it can interfere with that, so it'll be interesting to see, to say the least. Once again, I am Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan, happy to bring you live coverage of this Division I high school girls soccer contest between two of the best that Division I has to offer this year. As we get ready to get this one underway, looks like we've got number 13, Gianna Pentland for Brookline, getting ready to get us started at the midfield. I apologize not just for the wind, but also for the sun, as it's coming down right in front of us. We are underway. The pass, it goes back to Ansley Washburn, then all the way back to Sydney Freeze. Freeze passes it ahead down the far side for Mila Seifert, who passes it back to, I want to say, Maddie Moore. Now to the middle to Hope Leshley. Leshley faces some threats there. It's deflected back, but then kicked towards the middle to Washburn. Tapped ahead, but then taken away by Natick. Natick decides to send the pass all the way back to Jeter. Jeter boots it high into the air, and Leshley kind of whiffs on that kick, but coming in and kicking it away is Zoe Fagnan. Ahead to Amr Ukamadu, but unfavorable deflection. It's kicked away. Wager kicks it towards the middle, finds Leshley. Leshley sends it all the way back to Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos now boots it in the air. Bounces past a couple players, downed by Pentland. Pentland sends a pass trying to lead for Ukamadu, but kicked away by number 17, Abby Beigel. A couple passes, and it winds up with number 11, Michaela Henderson. Sends it ahead. A pass goes back. Now a pass around in the triangle goes back to Henderson. Now they try and kick a leading kick, but nobody there. The wind might have caught that one a little bit, and that's going to be a goal kick. So Brookline trying to get things into the offensive end early here as they try and work against, like I said, a very strong Natick team. Pass goes to the middle to Hope Leshley. Now pass over to Moore on the far side. Kick down the line. Downed at midfield. Recovering it. Oh, but it's stolen away by Seifert and deflected out of bounds. Great effort by the co-captain, Mila Seifert, against, I believe, number 19, Keo White. It is Natick ball. Throw in, and Pentland fighting with White and managed to deflect the ball away. Brookline's trying to scrum for it, but ultimately kicked away by Natick. It goes back to White. Kick goes back to, I believe, Kira Hacker. Now kicked across. I believe this is Abby Beigel with the ball right now. Dribbling with it. It is Beigel against Ukamadu. Pass goes back to, I believe, Hacker. Haven't seen the jersey number yet, but kick is sent across midfield. That is number 9, Zoe Graves, battling with a couple of Brookline players. Somehow gets away safely and passes it back to White. White now dribbling with it. Pentland in pursuit. Sends it ahead. Finds Briar Grady, who passes it down the far side. Now a pass back to White. White sends it down the line. That is number 2, Megan Mila, who sent it ahead. Now a kick into the air is deflected. Off a head. Off another head. I think off another head. They're scrumming for it. Bit of a battle. And we got a penalty call against Natick. That was a scrum between... Oh, no, it's against Brookline. They called that against number 3, Hope Leshley, as she was scrumming with number 25, Olivia Penn. And now a free kick will come from the co-captain, Kira Hacker. She's got Briar Grady over on her right, and everyone else just standing along the line of the box. Here comes the kick from Hacker. Goes high and sails wide. Not a bad idea. But ultimately just off the mark. Anastopoulos boots this one high into the air. Goes off the head of Penn. Favorable bounce goes ahead to Mila. Mila passes it back to Penn, who kicks it. Weird deflection goes back to Mila. Mila just lost control of it there, taken away by Brookline. Passed ahead, deflected from Pentland, and now kicked ahead by Washburn down the far side. Nobody there except Keo White. White sends it down the line. Now passed back to White. White sends it back to Hacker. Hacker back to White. White sends it ahead. Deflected, stolen away by Hope Leshley. Leshley dribbling away from traffic, trying to find an opening, gets towards the middle, gets some space, kicks one ahead, trying to lead Ukamadu, but it looks like Henderson is going to get there first. Henderson kicks it away. Swooping in is Zoe Fagnan. Fagnan dribbling. Boots one towards the middle. Off ahead. Deflected away by Jeter. Juicy rebound recovered by Jeter. First save of the day, and it's a doozy by Allison Jeter. A dangerous header by Gianna Pentland almost got the first score on the board. Jeter punts it into the air. Deflected down, it just sort of sits there, but then kicked by Leshley. Taken now by Sari Frankel. Frankel passes it back. Trying to fight along the far side. It's taken away. And it's Briar Grady sending the pass ahead. Now a pass to Mila is lost. Taken away and kicked ahead by Sydney Freeze. Now the ball is being scrummed for. Send a pass looking for Henderson, but cut off and intercepted by Fagnan. Fagnan sends one for Ukamadu, finds Ukamadu. Dribbling towards the middle now, sends a pass across to Frankel. Frankel surveying, floats one up, down the far side, headed away. Penn now takes a swing at it, kind of goes off the side of her leg. Taken along the far side by Maddie Moore, a kick towards the box, and it skips past everybody, and that's going to be a goal kick. A brief note to anyone watching from either side, Brookline or Natick. If I'm pronouncing anyone's names wrong, if I have any jersey numbers wrong on my roster, please correct me in the live chat. I want to get this as accurately as I can. The goal kick deflects off of Fagnan and out of bounds. You could tell she was trying to down that one, and the deflection just didn't go the way she wanted. Ball is thrown in by Henderson. It gets over Fagnan and is recovered nicely. Passed back to Henderson. Henderson fakes, dribbles into space, Now trying to work her way through. Manages to tap it ahead and find Mila, but Mila has nowhere to go and just kicks it. It goes out of bounds. This will be a goal kick for Anastopoulos. You know, aside from that one big threat by Brookline, with the near score off the header by Pentland, this really is just kind of the feeling out stage as they quickly kick to Cecilia Wager, who now kicks it ahead to Washburn. Washburn, weird deflection. She tries to send it back to Fagnan. This could be disaster. Fagnan keeps it not in bounds. A interesting strategy from Brookline as they, instead of going for a kick in the air, they just tried to tap it to their center back, but the passing just didn't go cleanly, and now we've got a corner kick for Natick. First corner kick of the day. Kira Hacker setting up to launch this one. It's a liner, headed away immediately by Fagnan. It goes right back to Hacker. Hacker boots one in the air, off ahead, and now headed into the air by Grady. And now I think that is Emma Grant trying to get the ball for Natick, but it's deflected away by Fagnan, and now Ukamadou dribbling down the edge. She's got the edge on Hacker, just got to get around Henderson, but Henderson, no, that's Abby Beigel, my mistake, trying to get the edge on Beigel, and ultimately just runs out of room and loses it out of bounds. So this will be another goal kick for Natick. But you can see where the threat from Amra Ukamadou comes from as she showed off that speed there. High goal kick bounces, aiming at Henderson, off her head, downed by Hope Leshley. Leshley, some nice moves to keep the ball. Turns around, somehow keeps control of the ball and sends a pass ahead to Ukamadou. Ukamadou's pass deflected, but then taken back by Leshley. Leshley sends a pass back to Fagnan. Fagnan couldn't keep control of the ball, but it's lost out of bounds. Megan Mila was applying the pressure there. Fagnan throw in, deflected towards the middle. Washburn taps it back to Leshley. Leshley kicks down the far side for Seifert. Seifert keeps it in bounds and sends it back to Moore. Moore's kick is deflected out of bounds off of Emma Grant. Throw in from Moore, off the head, deflected by Leshley. Moore takes it, kicks it back to Freeze. Freeze sends it into the air towards midfield. And a bit of a scrum for it is won by Frankel. Frankel sends it ahead looking for Seifert, but intercepted. Kick towards the middle now. Penn slips and falls on it. So now Washburn, or Frankel rather, takes it away. Pass ahead to Pentland. Now back to, oh, that's Frankel, so it was Washburn earlier. Frankel shaking and baking and now passing it over to Leshley. Leshley jukes and passes to Frankel. Frankel now dribbling across the middle. Now sending it down the line, trying to lead for Ukamadou. But Henderson gets there first and kicks it out of bounds. Fagnan throws it into Ukamadou. Back to Fagnan. Fagnan starts dribbling. Kick towards the middle for Pentland, but too much traffic, and she kicks it back to Leshley, who tries to send it back in, but off the side of her foot. Kicked away by Henderson. Passed way ahead, and now a tapping pass leading for Henderson. Henderson sends it right back to the middle to Zoe Graves. Graves battling with Leshley, has to pass it away to Penn, who then sends it back to Hacker. Hacker swings it over to White. White now sends it ahead to Mila. Mila has it deflected, but recovered by Penn. Pass over to Grady, who sends it down the far side. And they're not going to chase that one down. That's going to be out of bounds. Throw in down the line is lost out of bounds off the foot of Seifert. And so this will go back to Natick. Throw in now goes off the head of a Natick player. And Moore boxes out and manages to kick it away. Off ahead, Penn tries to take a swing at it. Goes off her shin and now headed into the air by, I believe, Wager. Off the head of Grady and out of bounds. Now after a bit of a scrum, it's kicked towards the middle, taken by Leshley. Leshley passes it back to Wager. Now swings it over to Fagnan. Fagnan keeping control of it, starts dribbling, but taken away by Emma Grant. A give and go between Grant and Mila. Now Grant dribbling with it along the near side, deflected off of Wager. And now another kick towards the center, skips harmlessly into the arms of Anastopoulos. Almost a dangerous chance there for Natick, as now Pentland passes it back to Frankel. Frankel, patient, and kicks it into the air. Finds Pentland, but can't keep control of it. Booted away by Henderson. Bounces off the head of Leslie, going the wrong way. And it's going to skip back to the box, where it's scooped up by Anastopoulos. Rolled in for Wager. Wager passes it to Leslie. Leslie to the far side to Moore. Moore sends it down the far side. Kicked down the line, and ultimately kicked away by White. Now into the air, deflected by Moore and taken by Leslie for a second, but now it's taken by Frankel. Frankel dribbling, passes back to Moore. Moore boots it into the air, off the foot of Hacker, and we got a whistle. I'm not entirely sure what that whistle was for, but either way, free kick for Brookline, and the free kick goes to Leslie. Leslie passes it back to Sydney Freeze. Freeze dribbling with it. There's no one between her and the goalie, and she just has to send it back to Anastopoulos, who now boots it high into the air. And Ukamadou tries to down it, and we've got another whistle. Not sure if it was a delayed penalty or an offsides or what that was. But whatever it is, Natick now has the ball. Kira Hacker lining up for the free kick. Sends it to Henderson. Henderson against Fagnan, fakes her out, goes down the line. Leslie cuts it off and gets a favorable deflection. Or no, she doesn't. It stays with Natick. Henderson throws this one in. It bounces. Favorable bounce. Dangerous chance here for Graves, but ultimately it's booted away by Brookline. Now Ukamadou trying to battle for pole position here, but outnumbered, but she does draw the penalty. She was sandwiched between Abby Beigel and Olivia Penn, and ultimately I think they called that one on Penn. As now we have a free kick for the Warriors, and it looks like it's going to be taken by the center back, Cecilia Wager. Wager boots it in the air, looking for Ukamadou. Deflection off of the foot of Beigel, lost out of bounds. And no, it actually didn't go off of Beigel. They're going to say nobody touched it, so it'll be a throw-in for Natick. Again, you can see the wind catching some of these airborne balls every now and again, as the throw-in now goes to Megan Mila. Mila sends a pass back to Hacker, who swings it over to White. White sending it ahead, taken by Penn for a sec, but then knocked away by Seifert. And Leslie slipped and fell, but recovered it. Managed to dribble back and pass it to Freeze, I want to say. Now pass intercepted by Natick. Passed ahead for Mila. Cut off a bit by Wager, a nice boxing out job there, and that's going to be out of bounds Brookline ball. You can hear the wind gusting here at Skyline Field. We are scoreless here in the first half. Some kind of violation on the throw-in, I guess. This one thrown down the line, and Brookline just lets this one bounce out of bounds. Boxed out by Sydney Freeze. Anastopoulos setting up the goal kick. Kicked over a couple of heads, and now deflected into the air off of Leslie and Penn. That's Anna Leslie, rather, and actually I don't think that was Penn. I think it was someone else whose jersey number starts with a 2. Either way, Natick gets control of the ball. Hacker sends a pass ahead for Mila, gets away from her, taken by Leslie. Hope Leslie passes it back to Cecilia Wager. Pass ahead. Stumbling and couldn't get the ball. Penn trying to take it. Leslie gets it away, passes back to Freeze. Now pass to the far side to Moore, who gets the favorable deflection out of bounds. Throw in now, goes off ahead. Now kick towards the middle to Frankel. Frankel sends the pass back to Moore, who boots it high in the air. Bounces over, and we got an out-of-bounds call that gives it to Natick. Brookline was looking for a penalty call as Anna Leslie got sandwiched between a couple of Natick players. Throw in now for Natick is deflected back, downed by Brookline's Gianna Pentland, but she couldn't keep control of it. Stolen away. Kick towards the middle. Finds Zoe Graves. Passed back and now booted ahead. They're trying to lead Michaela Henderson, who is not going to get there in time. That'll be out of bounds Brookline ball. Fagnan throws it in for Hope Leslie. Passed back to Wager. Wager passes it back to Leslie. Leslie kicks it ahead, a deflection, and then taken by Alex Levy. Levy trying to kick it upfield, kicked back by Hacker. Goes back to Frankel. Frankel boots it high in the air for Ukamadou. Deflects, and now taken by Natick. Dribbling with it now is Michaela Henderson. Henderson boots it high in the air, off the head of Freeze. Bouncing, now off the head of Penn. Downed and taken by Emma Grant, who passes it down to the far side. Now passed back to Keo White. White sends it ahead to Penn. Penn dribbling down the far side, kick towards the middle. Nobody there, but Henderson's trying to chase after it. She's trying to keep it in bounds. She does. And now Henderson sends a pass over to Briar Grady. Grady loses the ball, but slipping and falling was Frankel. And so they pass it back to Grady, and now a shot floats into the arms of Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos boots it towards midfield, and tapped from Pentland over to Ukamadou. Ukamadou's trying to take off here. Has to pull up, though, no room. Centering kick, offsides. They were looking for the same header play, or a similar kind of header play as to what they pulled against Braintree, but the offsides call blows that dead. Henderson boosts this one into the air and out of bounds. After a couple subs check in, the throw in from Fagnan to Frankel. Frankel's kick intercepted by Henderson. Now Henderson's kick deflected by Leslie off the head of Levy. Leslie still scrumming for it against a couple of players, and she wins that battle despite the handicap. Kicks it away to Maddie Moore. Moore dribbling with it. Sends a pass through everybody, but all the way back to Hacker, who just kicks it away. Now a pass to Grant, who tries to send it to the far side to a player whose jersey number I have not seen yet. Goes back to White. White's pass intercepted by Frankel. Frankel dribbling with it, looking for an opening here. Has to dribble back. Taps it for Levy, who wasn't entirely ready for it, but still takes it. Dribbles through a defender. Now sends a pass, deflected and taken away by Natick. I believe this is Olivia Penn now dribbling with it in the midfield. Or no, now they tap it to Penn. And now we got a player tripped up here. That's going to be a penalty call every time. And so it'll be a free kick for the Redhawks. This will be taken as usual by Kira Hacker. Sends a pass over to number 20, whose pass is deflected and almost stolen away, but they managed to boot it towards the box, bouncing in, taken by Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos boots it high in the air. Beigel deflects it and manages to tap it ahead to Penn. A couple of passes, and it's ultimately taken away by Brookline. Hope Leshley dribbles back with it rather, passes it back to Wager. Wager kicks it over to Moore on the far side. Moore's got some space, decides to boot it ahead, try and lead her forwards, but they're not there yet, and so it just rolls into the arms of Jeter. Jeter sends it high in the air, deflects off the foot of Liv Ernst. That bounces out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in for Natick. Henderson chucks it down the line, being chased down by Mila and Wager, and it's a bit of a scrum for it. Wager decides to box her out and draw the goal kick. Looks like we got a sub coming in for Natick before this goal kick. Looks like replacing Megan Mila. As they move Grady to the forward position, they send in a new midi. Pass, and now Fagnan boots it high in the air. Wind kind of catches it and goes off the head of Cassidy Moriarty. Ahead to Grady. Grady double-teamed and can't hold on to the ball. It's taken away by Fagnan. Now passed over to Wager. Wager winds and kicks a line drive. Deflects off the foot of Moriarty. Now taken by Graves. Graves dribbling with it. Kick towards the middle is deflected away by Hope Leshley. Recovered by Graves. Graves passes it back to Beigel. Abby Beigel tries to send a pass, and they're going to say it deflected off of Ernst. Scoreless here in the first half at Skyline Field in Brookline, Massachusetts. Kayla Henderson throws this one in off the head of Cecilia Wager, and then off the head of Penn. Then kicked by Frankel, deflected back by Graves. Frankel recovers, fires a second shot, and now deflects down. Ernst and Beigel scrumming for it. It gets deflected away to Penn. Passed back to Moriarty. Passed ahead for Grant. Grant sends one down the line, cut off by Moore. And Moore boots it across midfield. Bounces over Pentland's head, chased down by White. Passed to the middle to Moriarty, now down to the far side. Now sent back to White, and now all the way back to Jeter, who tries to kick it for White. The wind keeps that one in bounds, and White sends it down the line. Passed ahead for, I want to say, Emma Grant. Now passed back to White. Now passed all the way back to Kira Hacker. Back to White. Natick just taking their time, looking for the best place to clear from. And ultimately, they pass it back to Hacker. Hacker kicks, kicked back by Moriarty. Beigel chasing after it. And now Beigel's kick is deflected out of bounds by Ernst. Natick just kind of had nowhere to go on that clear attempt. Brookline was sort of laying off the pressure and just covering everyone as they throw it in now down the line. Deflected out of bounds. That goes off of Emma Grant. Couple subs checking in for Brookline. Among them, seeing the field for the first time, I believe, is number 1, Vilena Chernichev. Throw-in goes to Hope Leshley, and she gets pushed to the ground. That's going to be a penalty every time. That one called against Zoe Graves. Cecilia Wager taking some big steps back as she lines up for this free kick on her team on the opposing side of the field. Kicks a liner, booted back into the air, deflects the wrong way off the head of Fagnan. Wager chases it down. Grady applying some pressure, can't do it, and I think Grady got a bit hurt on that one as it's kicked out of bounds by Wager. Oh boy, you hate to see that. I mean, that's just kind of a fluky injury there. Grady was trying to apply pressure on Wager from behind, and I don't know if her foot caught Wager's foot or what happened, but But she comes up looking a little hobbled, and now she's going to be coming off. If you're Natick, that's a player you don't want to lose. Like I said before, the senior co-captain, a very strong presence in the midfield, and they had switched her to the forward position, and you could already see the pressure she was able to apply after moving ahead in the rotation. So Natick fans certainly hoping that she'll come back soon, and Brookline fans, you know, well, maybe hoping she takes her time, certainly just from a humanitarian standpoint, hoping she's okay, because, I mean, you don't want people to get hurt. This is a game. Henderson lines up to throw this one in. Deflects off the foot of Fagnan, towards the middle, off the head of Levy. Blown towards Moriarty. Moriarty trying to scrum through. Ultimately passed back to Penn. Penn's kick is deflected away. Now deflected back, and now Brookline takes control of it. Floating ahead for Ukamadu, booted away by Hacker. All the way back to Cecilia Wager, from one center back to another. Wager gets a dangerous pass away to Fagnan. Fagnan sends a pass to the middle to Chernychev, now back to Fagnan. Fagnan back to Wager. Wager fakes out Mila there, and her pass almost gets away from Freeze, but she manages to chase it down. Sydney Freeze sends a pass ahead to Levy. Levy passes ahead for Sari Frankel. Frankel boots it into the air and off the mark, out of bounds. Pass intended for Anna Leshley. Throw in now for the Redhawks. Deflection, now a bit of a scrum for it. Penn had it for a second, but forced to kick it away. It's taken by Levy. Now a couple of passes trying to lead for Ukamadu, booted away by Beigel. Goes back to Chernychev. Chernychev sends a pass over to Fagnan. Fagnan dribbling against Graves, sends a through pass to Levy. Tap towards the middle, slightly off the mark. But Anna Leshley and Sari Frankel battling for it, and it's Frankel who takes the ball. Frankel now boots one high in the air. Ernst trying to chase it down. Cannot keep it in bounds, and that's going to be a goal kick. Among the subs checking in now, we got one substitution checking in now for Brookline. This is number 12, Celia Marinus, replacing Alex Levy. This kick bounces, deflected ahead by Fagnan, and they're going to call a penalty on Natick. Fagnan kind of collided with Michaela Henderson, and since Fagnan was first to the ball, she gets the favorable call there. Wager lining up for the free kick. Potential chance for Brookline. As now Wager fires this one, it's a bit of a liner. Bounces, deflected, and now Natick trying to work on the counterattack. Swan kicked ahead to Mila. Mila now trying to lead Emma Grant. It's a race between her and Wager, but Wager gets there first and kicks it back to Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos passes it back to Wager. Now back to Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos winds and fires off the head of Graves, off the head of Chernychev, off the head of Graves again, now downed by Chernychev. Passed back to Fagnan. Fagnan's kick deflected by Henderson and tapped ahead. Now Graves trying to tap it ahead to Henderson, gets it to her. Big centering kick here, but it floats into the arms of Anastopoulos. Rolled down the far side for Moore. Maddie Moore bringing the speed as she's got plenty of opening to get across midfield. Fakes out a defender, still dribbling with it. Moore now sends a pass deflected, but now collected by Anna Leshley. Passed back, again scrummed for, but ultimately goes back to Moore. Moore pass to Frankel. Frankel back to Moore, now over to Marinus, who immediately kicks it ahead. Cut off, though. Natick takes it back, trying to keep control of it, and it's taken away by Fagnan. Olivia Penn just couldn't keep control of that one, and now Fagnan dribbling with it. Now sends a kick ahead. Nobody there, though, and that's going to be scooped up easily by Allison Jeter. Jeter's probably got the biggest highlight of the half so far, that save off her fingertips on the attempted header by Gianna Pentland. Definitely saved a goal with that play. And aside from that, no real dangerous shots from either team so far in this half. As this kick takes a couple of weird deflections, now Brookline takes it, passed ahead to Frankel. Frankel now booting it in the air. It's headed away by, I think, Beigel. Deflected ahead to Mila. Mila strumming through it through midfield, but now cutting it in is Frankel, but then Mila takes it back. Mila, pass ahead, is missed and taken by Freeze. Freeze sends it back to Fagnan. Fagnan taps ahead for Chernychev. Chernychev dribbles towards the middle, passes ahead for Frankel. Frankel has to dribble back, tap it back to Fagnan. Fagnan decides to go for a spin. Now kicks it ahead, but off the mark there, deflected, but then taken back by Ukamadou. Ukamadou sends it back to Frankel. Frankel sends it back to Fagnan. Again, Fagnan spins, fakes out another defender, sends a pass to Frankel along the near side. Frankel dribbling, now a centering kick aimed at Anna Leshley. Deflection, they lost track of the ball, kicked away, deflected in the air by Penn, off the head of Frankel, off the head of Beigel, now being chased down by Hacker. Hacker's kick flies out of bounds. Throw in now for the Warriors deep in Red Hawks territory. And got to make sure they're throwing in from the proper spot. Throw in goes to Frankel. Frankel gets a penalty call against Henderson. Now Frankel lining up next to Fagnan, getting ready for a free kick. Brookline's had a few of these, but this is about the closest they've been so far. There's the signal from Frankel. Booted high in the air. Players coming in, deflected into the air, goes back to Fagnan. Fagnan downs it, spins around, kicks back to Frankel. Frankel decides to dribble, going around the edge, trying to set up a centering kick. Centering kick off the head of Ukamadou, but deflected, not deflected well. Now Brookline trying to regain control of it. The pass goes back to Moore. Moore kicks it back towards the box, but nobody there, and it's going to be out of bounds. Henderson was the only one near it. Tough break for Brookline. They had a decent chance there, but it can be hard getting the right deflection, whether it's off the foot or off the head, and unfortunately, it's just deflected wrong off of Ukamadou's head. Throw in here goes off the head of Fagnan, kicked by Marinus, straight to Frankel. Frankel starts dribbling towards the middle, now fires across the field for Anna Leshley. Leshley kicks it ahead to Ukamadou. Ukamadou trying to dribble towards the middle, trying to weave her way through, ultimately kicked away by a defender. Nice effort on the last line by Abby Beigel. We got a sub checking in for Brookline, which is why they can't rush the throw in. Looks like this is going to be number 6, Sarah Gonzalez, coming in to replace Liv Ernst. Fagnan throws it in, tapped back by Chernychev. Now Fagnan passes to Frankel. Frankel dribbling along the near side, decides to kick it towards the middle. Ukamadou battling for it, but she's outnumbered. Moriarty turns around and kicks it for Penn. Now Penn passes. Now a kick across midfield for Emma Grant. Grant tries to kick it towards the far side, finds a teammate. Kicked down the line. Grant battling against Freeze. Grant gets through. Emma Grant trying to still battle through defenders, finally hits a wall, and it's booted away by Brookline. Now ball gets deflected back, kicked towards the middle. Deflected by Wager. Off ahead. Off of Mila's head. Now Moriarty boots it high in the air. Off the head of Graves. But nobody there. And scooped up by Anastopoulos. This is a low kick, but goes right to Chernychev. Passed back to Marinus. Marinus dribbling with it. Kicks it ahead, looking for Ukamadu, but deflected away by Beigel. After a couple deflections, now it's Natick with the ball. Passed ahead to Emma Grant. Grant sends it back to, I think, Keo White. Now kicked ahead for Grant again. Ball's deflected away. And ultimately taken by Brookline, booted into the air. Unfavorable deflection, and it's taken back. Now passed over to Moriarty, passed ahead to Mila. Mila gets around the defense, now dribbling with some space to work. It's Mila against Freeze, fakes out Freeze, but Freeze gets help and takes the ball away. Now the ball taken right back by Grant, passed back to number 22, Kendall Hacker. Couple of kicks, and now it goes right back to Anastopoulos. No scoreboard clock here at Skyline Field, so I can't tell you how much time we got left in the first half. I can, however, tell you that the score is 0-0. Feels like we're starting to transition from that feeling out stage into the part where teams really start putting their best attack strategies together. Off the head of Henderson, now sliced into the air by Marinus. Off ahead. And it goes to Graves. Graves passes it back to Penn. Penn sends it back to White. White sends it down the line for Kendall Hacker. Kendall Hacker dribbling with it along the far side. Passes. And that's going to be lost out of bounds. That'll be a goal kick for Brookline. Anastopoulos from the goal kick passes ahead to Wager, now kicked over to Fagnan. Fagnan sends it over to Gonzalez. Gonzalez taps back to Fagnan, now sent ahead for Frankel. Frankel sends it down the line for Ukamadu. Ukamadu barely kept it in bounds, and it's deflected out off of Hacker. Throw in now coming from Fagnan. It goes to Gonzalez. Kicked back to Frankel. Frankel decides to turn around, turns back around, and kicks it out of bounds. Henderson throws it in off the head of Fagnan, back to Graves. Graves dribbling with it, being pursued and wrapped up by Gonzalez for a second, but she escapes and keeps dribbling. Leading pass is cut off by Wager, and now Wager turns around and brings it up the near side. She's just boxing it out, and now passes it back to Frankel after drawing the extra defender. Tapped back to Wager. Wager dribbling towards the middle. Now sends a pass ahead, cut off by Moriarty and kicked to Henderson. Henderson sends it towards the middle, finds Graves. Graves decides to send a pass back to Penn. Penn sends it down the far side to an isolated Kendall Hacker. Hacker sends it back to White. White has it deflected away, taken by Ukamadu. Ukamadu dribbling across the middle, battling, still battling, gets some open space, passes it down the far side for Anna Leshley. Leshley sends a kick towards the box and taken by Jeter. And actually, I think I misidentified that player. I thought it was Anna Leshley, but actually it was Maddie Moore. My mistake on that, as Frankel takes it off the punt. Frankel trying to lead Sarah Gonzalez. Can she keep it in? Centering kick, but nobody's there except Jeter. Jeter decides to roll this one in. Down the far side for, I believe, Kendall Hacker. Pass for Mila is deflected out of bounds by Moore. Throw in now to Graves. Graves kicks towards the middle, deflected by Wager, kicked away by Freeze. And there's your halftime whistle. We are through the first half of this Division I high school girls soccer contest. Your score, Brookline 0, Natick 0. A few good chances here and there in that first half. The best chance, of course, came off the head of Gianna Pentland, but a great fingertip save by Allison Jeter maintained the scoreless tie all the way through to the half. Once again, I am Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan, happy to provide you live coverage of what has been a pretty nice game so far, and I expect it'll get even better in the second half. If you want more information about the services that I provide, about how you can hire me to cover the games of your favorite teams, etc., you can go to my website at jessesports.com. You'll get to see all kinds of examples of my work, information about me, and ways to get in touch with me and commission my services. If you're enjoying the broadcast, make sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all of my upcoming live streams, be sure to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. Links to my Facebook and Instagram are in the description of this video. Typically on Facebook, I will post links to my upcoming streams, and typically on Instagram, I'll post videos of the best plays from the broadcasts that I do the next day. So that can be pretty entertaining. And if you want to reach, just skip all the nonsense and just reach out to me directly. My email address is also in the description of this video, jgms88@gmail.com. You can see that in the description as well. And remember, you can also engage in the live chat if you want to correct me on any mistakes, if you want to shout out support for your favorite team or your favorite players. We've got one so far from Sophia Pentland saying, "Yay, Gianna." And, you know, that's a fair yay to give. Like I said, Gianna probably had the best chance to score in that first half, even though it was outdone by a really nice save from Allison Jeter. But for right now, we are at halftime, and so I'm going to take a short break, but I'll be right back for the second half. Stay tuned. All right, I am back. Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan live at Skyline Field in Brookline, Massachusetts, where we are still in the midst of the halftime break. Excuse me, of this Division I high school girls soccer contest between the visiting Natick High Redhawks and the hosting Brookline High Warriors. Two of the more highly rated teams in this division. As I said before, Natick High rated 5th in the MIAA Power Rankings, Brookline at 17th, and then of course with the Boston Globe rankings, which granted are a couple weeks old, I guess they haven't refreshed them recently, Brookline was ranked 8th, and for a reason I can't explain, Natick was not ranked at all. But both teams with very impressive records regardless of where you place them in any arbitrary rankings. Natick High coming into this with an undefeated 9-0-2 record, while for Brookline, a mark of 10-1-1. That one loss, of course, coming to Natick a few weeks back. We currently sit at a scoreless tie. You know, a few dangerous chances, but really only one shot that required any kind of heroics from either keeper. An attempted header by Gianna Pentland almost went top shelf for a goal before being turned away by the hand of Allison Jeter. Other than that, it's been, you know, the occasional dangerous push, usually cut off at the last minute by a skillful defender. And nothing all that big. The sun's starting to come down right in front of our faces. The wind has died down for the moment, but I don't expect that to stick for very long, as the two teams get ready to take the field once again, having switched sides. You know, one thing I didn't really get the chance to touch on in the first half was the depth that these two teams possess. You know, with Brookline, we saw several different players take the field over the course of that first half, and there wasn't ever really a clear drop-off in quality of play at any level, regardless of who subbed in and who subbed out, which really speaks to a pretty consistent level of production up and down the roster. For Natick, I mean, the hero of their last game against Brookline was Eliza Campana. We haven't even seen her yet. She hasn't stepped on the field. I don't know if she's hurt or if they're just saving her for the second half. I don't know. But either way, they've still been very much up to the task, and that includes after suffering an injury to one of their most important, one of their other star players, Briar Grady. We'll have to keep an eye and see if she comes back here in the second half, as she had a bit of an awkward injury there. I think her foot collided with another player's foot awkwardly or something like that, and she ended up coming off the field kind of hobbled. And she's back out on the field. Question immediately answered. So that is a big return for Natick as we get ready to start this one. Apologies in advance for the sun. But we're almost ready to get the second half underway. Looks like Zoe Graves will be getting things started for the Redhawks. Passed back, and here we go. Kira Hacker decides to turn around and pass it back to Cassidy Moriarty. Now kicked over to the far side and kicked right back to Hacker. Hacker boots one across midfield, a couple deflections, and ultimately taken by Hope Leshley. Leshley passes it over to the far side to Mila Seifert, who boots it down the line in the air and out of bounds. Throw in for Natick here. Thrown in down the line. Skips past a couple players and back to Cecilia Wager. Wager dribbles with it and passes it over to Maddie Moore on the near side. Moore dribbling against Emma Grant, and Grant takes it back and draws the penalty on Moore. So an early free kick for the Red Hawks, and it will be taken by Kira Hacker. Kick is booted high in the air. Dangerous chance, deflects back, and it looks like it's going to be scooped up by Anastopoulos. Juliana Anastopoulos boots this one, a bit of a line drive towards midfield. High bounce, and deflects off the side of the foot, booted into the air by Sarah Gonzalez. Downed by Brookline, booted into the air again. Weird bounce off the head. Whiffing on it a bit was Kendall Hacker. Sarah Gonzalez still trying to fight for it, but Michaela Henderson swoops in and taps it away to Hacker, and now back to Henderson. Henderson has the ball stolen away by Sari Frankel, but too much of a crowd, and it's taken back by Henderson. Now Hope Leshley steals it away. Leshley with some space to dribble. She turns around and passes it back. Now kicked ahead to Gonzalez. Or no, that's Frankel. Frankel passes over to Moore. Moore dribbling. Now boots it towards the box, but, swooping in is Ukamadu. I thought nobody was there, but it's deflected away and kicked out of bounds by Kendall Hacker. Both teams showing a little more aggression early in this second half as this ball is thrown in to Leshley. Leshley taps it back to Moore. Moore winds, kicks towards the box, off ahead, and now scrummed for, taken by Ansley Washburn, kicked back, intercepted by Zoe Graves. Graves kicks one across midfield off the head of Wager, now off a foot, now off another head, off the foot of Washburn, and it goes to Gonzalez. Gonzalez dribbling with it, sends a pass back to Moore. Moore kicks towards the middle for Hope Leshley, sent back to Sydney Freeze. Freeze taps it back to Wager, who kicks it over to Moore. Moore's kick is deflected away by Henderson, but out of bounds. Moore throws it in, and it's booted out of bounds. Another throw in, downed by Frankel. Tapped back to Moore. She fights through Henderson and manages to kick it towards the middle, finds Washburn. Washburn kicks it ahead, misses the mark, taken away by Kendall Hacker. Kicked ahead to Henderson. Henderson kicks it across midfield, deflected out off of Maddie Moore. Throw in from Henderson, goes down the line, bounces, collected by Briar Grady. Grady battling against Sydney Freeze, but it's stolen away by Sydney Freeze. Kicked to Gonzalez, kept in bounds, now kicked towards the middle, skips all the way to Amra Ukamadu. Ukamadu being chased by Olivia Penn, but ultimately the ball is taken away by Washburn, tapped for Leshley, tapped back to Washburn, now passed ahead to Frankel, unfavorable deflection, and now as they wrestle for that ball, that penalty is going to be called on Frankel as she got kind of wrapped up with Briar Grady. Free kick for Natick will once again be taken by Kira Hacker. Hacker boots it high in the air towards a swelling of players, ultimately kicked ahead by Megan Mila, but scooped up easily by Anastopoulos. Another line drive kick towards midfield, deflected by Moriarty, but then taken by Leshley. Long pass ahead to Gonzalez. Gonzalez trying to send a leading pass, but deflected away immediately by Kendall Hacker. Recovered by Gonzalez, but her pass off the mark and out of bounds. Henderson now getting ready to throw this one in. High throw in, catches the wind a bit, and it's kicked into the air by Freeze. Now off of Gonzalez, kicked ahead by Moore. Bouncing and kicked away by Hacker, but taken by Frankel. Frankel boots it towards the middle, looking for Pentland, deflected away. Washburn kicks it off ahead. Now downed by Moriarty. Now kicked, and both players kind of miss it there. And Megan Mila manages to keep it in bounds. Seifert still pursuing, and now with some backup, it's taken away, I believe, by Gianna Pentland. Passed back to Hope Leshley, who is now scrumming with, I think, Moriarty, but ultimately passes it back to Moore. Moore dribbling, winds, and kicks it into the air towards Pentland. Pentland battling with a defender, sends a pass back to nobody, and it's taken away by Natick, passed over to Graves. Graves floats one up, but Freeze cuts it off. It's tapped ahead to Moore, now sent ahead to Frankel. Frankel boots it in the air, ahead for Ukamadu. Ukamadu tried to fake out her defender, but nothing doing. Well stopped by Keo White. Now Briar Grady dribbling against Seifert. Ball is lost out of bounds, and it'll stay with Natick. Throw in goes to Grady. Tapped ahead, but kicked away by Freeze. Now Frankel boots it across midfield, and now it's a race for the ball, and it's being won by Ukamadu. Ukamadu's got it along the far side, stops, waits, still waiting, slips and loses the ball. Kicked out of bounds by Natick, and this will be a throw-in. Throw-in is deflected down, and then kicked out of bounds by Megan Mila. This throw-in goes back now. Now booted towards the middle for Frankel. Frankel downs it, starts to dribble around her defender. Kick deflected, and then kicked away by Moriarty. And now deflected out of bounds off Ansley Washburn. Mila getting ready to throw it in. Throw-in is deflected back and lost out of bounds. Throw in now, deflected off of Hope Leshley, trying to chase after it and crashes into her opponent, and that's going to be a penalty call. Well boxed out by Kira Hacker, who now takes the free kick. Off the bounce, Seifert kind of whiffs on it, but recovers, passes it back to Wager. Wager kicks it across to Moore. Maddie Moore still dribbling with it. Boots it into the air towards the middle, finds Ukamadu. Ukamadu outnumbered by the defenders, and it's taken away. Now Natick trying to work with it. The pass goes to Briar Grady. Grady sends it down the near side, finds Henderson. Kayla Henderson has it deflected out of bounds off of Sarah Gonzalez, and now gets the throw-in. Throw-in goes high, goes off ahead. Now off a foot. Now kicked towards the middle for Grady. Tapped back for Penn. Penn kicks it all the way back to Kendall Hacker. Kendall Hacker dribbling with some space. Now sends it over to the near side to Henderson. Henderson boots it towards the box. Dangerous chance, but boxed out and cut off. Anastopoulos picks it off after a nice box-out job by Cecilia Wager. Natick now back on the attack, though. Megan Mila dribbling with it, trying to gain the edge. Centering kick, nobody there except Anastopoulos. Anastopoulos now boots it towards midfield. Nobody there except Redhawks. Couple deflections, and it goes ahead to Zoe Graves. Cut off by Hope Leshley, and manages to tap it back to Wager. Wager kicks a line drive ahead, deflected off of Penn. And now deflected over to Graves, who pops it into the air. Now Wager trying to box out, and it gets deflected back to Anastopoulos. Booted into the air once again. Bounces past Penn, taken by Ukamadu. Ukamadu now dribbling with it. Still dribbling with it. Pulls back. Tries to send a pass through. Favorable deflection. Dangerous chance. Offsides call, and the shot was missed anyway. Boy, how many chances is Gianna Pentland going to get today? Tough offsides call there, and that stopped it in its tracks. The kick looks like it was going to be off the mark anyway. Off the offsides, it'll be a free kick from Kira Hacker. Into the air this one goes, deflects off of Graves, and now won by Megan Mila. Sent down the line, but Wager gets there first. Kicks it towards Freeze. Freeze dribbles a bit, now gives it over to Wager. Wager whiffs on her clearing kick. Dangerous chance for Mila, pass to Grant, but more Brookline players swarm in and kick the ball away. It's cleared out. Taken by Penn. Penn going down the line, deflected away, and now collected by Pentland. Pentland, the pass over to Hope Leshley. Leshley floats it off the head of Henderson, bouncing in the air, off the head of Washburn, downed by Henderson, kicked away, but goes back to Moore. Moore now dribbling with it. Her attempted pass is deflected and stolen away by Henderson, and now she's dribbling down the near side, working on the counterattack here. Henderson working against against Sydney Freeze, sorry about that, and she draws a corner kick. Oh, we got a Brookline player down. This is Maddie Moore. And they're gonna they're gonna ask Maddie Moore to limp off of the near side. Seem to be grabbing the right leg there. It seemed like she might have been grabbing her right hamstring there. Hard to say. But either way, this will be a corner kick for the Redhawks. This one's booted in. A bounce deflects off the head of Wager and out of the box. Graves recovers it. Zoe Graves trying to make something happen. Has to send a pass back to White. White back to Graves. Graves tries to float one up, leading Emma Grant. Grant has it cut off and cleared out by Brookline. Deflection towards the middle is taken by Grady, who tries to kick it ahead. Now booted into the air once again by Brookline. Now a couple deflections back, and it goes all the way back to Cecilia Wager, who's now battling with Grant. Manages to get away and pass it to Sydney Freeze. Freeze, dribbling, pursued by Grant, taps it back to Wager. Wager back to Freeze. Freeze now over to Fagnan. Zoe Fagnan dribbling against Henderson, gets a pass ahead to Gonzalez, which is tapped right back to Fagnan. Fagnan now sends it back to Freeze. Freeze now winds and kicks towards midfield. Bounce ahead, downed by, I believe, White, but now they're scrumming for it, and it's taken by Brookline, passed back to Washburn, now passed back to Hope Leshley. Oh, my tongue's getting twisted. Kicked ahead, and now taken away by Grady. Now intercepted by Leshley. Deflected. More deflections, and now booted into the air by White. Bounce towards the Brookline end and ultimately kicked all the way back to Anastopoulos. Passed back to Fagnan. Fagnan sends a kick, leading for Sarah Gonzalez, and she couldn't chase it down, out of bounds. Thrown into Grady, off her head. Now taken by Leshley. Hope Leshley boots this one high and across the field, off the head of Chernychev. And now being chased down by White and kicked down the line. Now Graves working against Wager. Still trying to work, trying to gain the edge, but ultimately just loses the ball out of bounds. It'll throw in for Natick. Goes down to Emma Grant. Grant trying to gain the edge on Freeze, but can't do it. Freeze takes the ball away and kicks it along the far side for Mila Seifert. Seifert kicks it ahead, deflected into the air by Penn. Now off ahead of Chernychev, deflected now over to Grady. Grady dribbles, a pass deflected, and now cut off and stolen away by Sari Frankel. Frankel now dribbling, gets through one player, but it's deflected over to Grady. Now they pass around, and I think that is Mila who passes for Graves. Tapped back for Mila, but cut off by Wager. Wager now dribbling with it as the wind starts to gust once again. Pass to Frankel. Frankel sends one across midfield. Skips past a couple of players, but ultimately tracked down and kicked away by Hacker. Couple of deflections, and now taken for a second by Frankel, but then a Natick player swoops in and gets the penalty call. This will be a free kick now after I believe it was Olivia Penn who was trying to swoop in, and the free kick comes rather swiftly, and it's taken by Seifert. Passed ahead to Frankel. Frankel kicks it down the line, trying to lead Gianna Pentland. Pentland is going to get there first. Pentland's got the ball, a kick. Nobody was there, and it was off the mark. Still scoreless here in the second half. Brookline 0, Natick 0. Goal kick is going to be taken by Hacker. Deflects off a foot, now off a head. Booted by Wager, deflects off of Moriarty's head, and out of bounds. This will be a throw-in for Brookline. Again, my apologies for the sun, as Seifert now gets ready to throw it in. Thrown into Frankel. Frankel turns around, sends it back to Seifert. Seifert kicks a line drive towards the middle, and it's taken by Sarah Gonzalez, who passes it back to Leshley, now sent over to the near side to Fagnan. Fagnan gets around Kendall Hacker, but runs into another wall, deflected out of bounds. This will be Brookline ball. Thrown in by Fagnan, it goes to Leshley. Leshley turns around, kicks towards the middle for Frankel. Frankel lost control of it for a second, but recovers. Now dribbling, kick deflected, recovered by Frankel. Now dribbling back towards the middle. Now boots it high. Kicked back, deflected, goes back to Alex Levy. Levy taps it back to Leshley. Hope Leshley's starting to dribble. Turns around. Sends a pass over to the far side. Finds Seifert. Seifert sends it ahead to Chernychev. Chernychev trying to keep it in bounds. Now passes back to Seifert. Seifert kicks it towards the middle. Deflected by Levy. Levy trying to gain control of it through several Natick players, but ultimately kicked away. Seifert swoops in and kicks it towards the box. Deflected. Goes back to Frankel. Frankel pass for Fagnan. Fagnan trying to dribble around and draws a penalty. Now the question is, where are they going to place it? Looks like they're going to place it just outside the box, so no penalty kick here. But a pretty good chance for the Warriors off the penalty draw by Zoe Fagnan. Looks like they got Sari Frankel lining up to take this free kick. A wall of Redhawks stands in front of her. Here's the kick, and that sails high. That's why you have that wall of defenders there. There isn't much angle you can go from a point-blank position like that other than having it sail high. It's really hard to nail that one down. Goal kick now for the Redhawks. Downed by Frankel. Booted ahead. Kicked away by Kendall Hacker. Taken by Frankel again. Passed over to Fagnan. Fagnan dribbling with it. Now passes towards the middle. Finds Hope Leshley. Leshley has it taken away for a second, but then takes it right back. Pass goes back to Cecilia Wager. Kicked ahead for Alex Levy. Back to Freeze. Now over to Fagnan. Fagnan ahead to Frankel. Frankel dribbling with it. Sends it back to Wager. And I can barely see because of the sun. I apologize for that, as Wager is being pursued from behind by Emma Grant. And they're going to call a penalty on Grant. That'll be a free kick for Brookline, as Grant got a little too physical in that pursuit there. So Cecilia Wager gets ready for the free kick around midfield. This one launched high towards the box. Bounces out of bounds. That'll be a goal kick, as we have a substitution coming in for Brookline, replacing Sarah Gonzalez. Looks like it'll be number 18, Anna Leshley. Leshley, an offensive player to watch out for. She shares the lead for goals for Brookline this season, along with Amra Ukamadu. Now Natick trying to work things down the far side. Grady is tripped up, fighting against Seifert. She somehow comes away with the ball, kicks it away, but nobody there, and it's scooped up by Anastopoulos. Booted away, and now taken by Pentland for a second. Penn trying to take it away, but Levy taps it ahead for Pentland. Now Gianna Pentland dribbling with it, directing traffic, floats one up, trying to lead Anna Leshley. Leshley looks like she's going to get control of the ball, but she's not going to have a lot of room to work. She gets cornered, but gets a pass through to Frankel. Frankel now dribbling towards the middle. Frankel taps it, looking for Hope Leshley, but off the mark, and it's taken away by Natick. Pass ahead is cut off by Freeze. Passed to Fagnan. Fagnan towards the middle. Now boots one in the air. Off ahead. Downed by Frankel. Frankel dribbling against Moriarty. Gets some space. Pass deflected by Moriarty. Taken away by Natick. Now kicked ahead for Megan Mila. Mila taps it for, I believe, Grady. Kicked ahead for Graves. Graves passes to Grady, but unfavorable deflection, and has to be kicked back to Graves. Graves now dribbling against Seifert. And Zoe Graves asserting her physicality, but commits a penalty there. A nice penalty draw on defense by the co-captain Mila Seifert. Anastopoulos boots this one towards midfield, but the only one there is Olivia Penn. Now off another head, skipping away, and it's tapped away by Sydney Freeze. Taken by Fagnan. Fagnan trying to dribble against Mila, but Mila takes it away. Kicks it towards the middle, just off the mark, and tapped away by Wager. Leshley. Hope Leshley boots it ahead, off of the head of Hacker. And we've got another penalty call against Natick, this one against Olivia Penn, who got wrapped up with Sari Frankel as they were waiting for the loose ball. Wager lining up for the free kick. Signal is up. Here it comes. There's the kick towards the box. Over everyone and taken easily by Jeter. Now Jeter punts this one. Deflected down and taken by Alex Levy. Pass is booted away instantly. Now taken by Penn. Penn taps it down the far side. Tapped back to the middle to Graves. Graves sends a leading pass. And Seifert trying to cut off, but taking it down the edge. That's Emma Grant. Grant, the centering kick, nobody there. And now Henderson and Fagnan are chasing after it, and Fagnan kicks it out of bounds. Henderson getting ready for the throw-in deep in Brookline territory. Deflected, booted into the air by Leshley, downed, and passed back in by Penn, but intercepted by Anna Leshley. Pentland now taps it back to Fagnan. Fagnan boots it in the air, finds Frankel. Frankel taps it for Anna Leshley. Leshley trying to lead Pentland. Pentland trying to keep control of it now. Gets some control, trying to dribble against Kendall Hacker. Centering pass intercepted by Penn, but her kick is deflected. Now she kicks it ahead for Mila, but it's deflected out of bounds by Freeze. Henderson, the throw in here. Booted into the air by Wager, and that's going to bounce out of bounds again. Throw in again. Off the head of Leshley to the other Leshley, and Anna Leshley kicks it off of Henderson and out of bounds. Brookline gets the ball, and we've got some substitutions coming in. For Brookline, number 10, Amra Ukamadu replaces Gianna Pentland. Throw-in goes to Anna Leshley, deflected into the air. Alex Levy downs it, trying to maintain control, centering pass, gets it to Frankel. Frankel kicks ahead, kicked away by, I believe, Hacker, but it goes right back to Frankel. Frankel dribbling with it now, trying to work her way through, gets through a defender, now dribbling towards the middle, now kicks a leading pass and offsides. She was trying to lead Vilena Chernichev on that one, but just didn't have the timing down. Timing those floated passes can be so hard, as Kira Hacker takes the free kick, sends it towards midfield, taken by the Redhawks, and Briar Grady gets the favorable deflection out of bounds, and a little too hasty with the throw-in as she went a little too far ahead. Thrown in now for Penn. Penn dribbling with it, cut off by Levy and kicked away by Seifert. Natick, however, trying to take it right back. Bit of a scrum for the ball, won by Ukamadu, but kicked away by Grant. Recovered by Frankel. Now Graves battling for it. Frankel gets away. Now has some time to think. Passes to Seifert. Seifert dribbles up the line. Gets swarmed by multiple defenders who ultimately knock the ball out of bounds. Throw in for Brookline. Goes down the line. And now Brookline manages to get some room here, but ultimately intercepted. Chernichev fighting to get the ball back, but it's lost out of bounds, and Natick ball. Yes. Thrown in down the line, deflects off ahead, bounces, and taken off the head of Freeze. Oh, that kick hit her right in the face. Oh, that one, that was point blank. And we'll see if they have to take her off for that one. That one's, you know, that one's potential for a concussion protocol, as it looks like Hope Leshley will have to come off the field. And that is a tough loss for the Warriors. Like I said before the game, Leshley's such a strong presence in the midfield in that transition game. But you got to follow protocol when it comes to this stuff. I mean, soccer is low-key a pretty dangerous sport when it comes to concussions. Replacing Hope Leshley will be number 12, Celia Marinus. And it looks like Brookline will get the free kick. So now Wager takes this free kick, and everyone just kind of sits around and waits with it. I think this is a bit of a sportsmanship moment where Brookline kind of recognizes, yeah, Natick had the ball in that situation, so we're just going to let this one kind of start over. Jeter boots it into the air. A couple deflections off some heads, deflected ahead, and then kicked away by Hacker. Now downed by Graves, booted high in the air, off of a head, but kicked away by Wager. Now kicked back to the Brookline end, downed by Levy, off the foot of Leshley, whiffed by Penn, and now a couple of deflections, and chasing it down is Natick, but cut off by Ukamadu. Amra Ukamadu dribbling with it, down the far side, trying to gain the edge, gets tripped up. No penalty call, but she does get the corner kick. You could tell Ukamadu wanted that penalty kick call, but instead this is going to be a corner. Sari Frankel lining up to kick it into the box. There's the signal. Kick from Frankel. Off the head and wide. A good chance off the head of Anna Leshley, but it bounces wide. Couple of near header goals today for the Warriors as Kira Hacker now takes this goal kick. Goes off the head of Fagnan, now off a foot, down the near side, and out of bounds. This will be Brookline ball. Throw in is taken by Anna Leshley. Sends it ahead to Ukamadu. Ukamadu dribbling with it. Going towards the middle. Sends a pass to Levy. Kicked back to Ukamadu, who's trying to keep control of it. Ukamadu fighting around several defenders, ultimately outnumbered, taken away by Penn. Penn sends the pass ahead to Graves. Graves gets smothered by about 3 Brookline players, and it's kicked away to Frankel. Frankel turns around, kicks it ahead, finds Ukamadu. Ukamadu taps it over. Give and go just off the mark and kicked away by Kendall Hacker. Downed by Seifert, taken by Graves. Graves battling against Marinus and Fagnan, and Graves manages to get ahead. Another defender swoops in and ultimately passed back to Moriarty, who boots it in the air looking for Grady. Deflected away and now taken by Chernychev. Chernychev dribbles around, passes it back to Wager. Wager kicks a line drive across midfield. Now kicked into the air by Hacker and now being battled for. It goes off the foot of Marinus. Fagnan chases it down, keeps it in bounds. Fagnan dribbling with it. Sends a pass to the middle to Alex Levy. Levy winds, kicks slightly deflected, but taken off the foot of Ukamadu, but then kicked away by Hacker. Now taken by Grady. Grady trying to dribble through, sliding kick by Alex Levy. Now Hacker kicks it back, and it's lost out of bounds. That'll be Brookline ball. And the sun is just about to dip below the trees, which is why you can't really see anything at midfield. And I'm trying to cover it with my hand. I really am, but ball ultimately taken away by Natick off a bad deflection. Thrown down the line, kicked away by Wager. Cross midfield, taken for a second by Anna Leshley. Anna Leshley sends a leading pass, was looking for Chernychev, but ultimately cut off by the defense. Kicked back. Now battling for it, Sari Frankel dribbling. Ball deflected out of bounds. It'll stay Brookline ball. Thrown in. And ultimately kicked away by, I believe, Kendall Hacker. Now Seifert trying to deflect it back, but kicked away. And a bit of a scrum for the ball is won by Sari Frankel. Frankel now dribbling with it. Looking for a place to go. Passes to Leshley. Now tapped for Ukamadu. Now Chernychev fires in wide. Man, you know that's one that Brookline wants back. A really dangerous chance there, and I think the shot was taken by Vilena Chernychev. Would have made for her first goal of the season and the first goal of her high school career. As this one is headed down and taken by Hope Leshley, who is back after taking that ball to the face. She is okay. So we've had one player go off from each team, and both times the player came back. As this one goes off the head of Zoe Fagnan, now taken by Hope Leshley. Leshley boots it across midfield, finds Chernychev. Chernychev taps it back to Levy, who boots it high in the air. Ukamadu trying to fight for it, poked away, and then kicked by Penn, and now booted away by Natick. It goes down the line, taken by Wager. Wager passes over to Freeze, booted into the air. Off the head of Grady now, and a bit of a scrum for the ball is tapped back. Kicked ahead by Seifert off the head of Penn, off the foot of Frankel. Now Ukamadu downs it, starts dribbling, tries to tap one ahead, but cut off and kicked away by White. Now kicked ahead and taken by Seifert, kicked towards the middle, and taken by Anna Leshley, sent back to Hope Leshley. Hope Leshley dribbling, gets deflected away, and now Natick takes it, passed ahead to Zoe Graves. Graves trying to float one up, trying to lead her teammate. This is Emma Grant trying to make a chance here. Emma Grant kicks, and there wasn't much room there, and it's scooped up easily by Anastopoulos. Booted in the air back towards the sun rays of midfield as it's taken by Sari Frankel. And we've got another injured player down. Oh, I didn't even see what happened. Hard to say who it is. It looks like they're trying to keep that left leg straight. And out comes the Brookline High athletic trainer to try and help out whoever this is. And the player's been helped up. That is number 25, Olivia Penn, the freshman midi who's just kind of been everywhere today. She's played a pretty critical role in the transition game for the Redhawks, and now she's slightly limping off the field. I mean, like I said, we've seen a couple players go down so far today and have to limp off the field, and they've all been okay. You know, we've seen Briar Grady, Hope Leshley, and Maddie Moore come off the field at various times, and the only one we haven't seen back so far is Moore, as it's been Seifert and Fagnan playing the wing positions, with her still on the bench. So again, they just kick it right back. Again, just a sportsmanship kick straight to the goalie. You know, that's nice to see. You know, two rival teams, and yet they still got that respect. Amra Ukamadu dribbling with the ball now, sending it ahead and kicked away. And now off the bounce, it's headed by Emma Grant. Mila trying to swoop in, but kicked away by Wager, and Wager actually able to send it upfield to Sari Frankel. Frankel boots it ahead, trying to lead Anna Leshley, but cut off by Jeter. Jeter now rolls it in for Michaela Henderson. Henderson dribbling, cut off and kicked away by Ukamadu, but goes right to Briar Grady. Passed back to Kendall Hacker. Hacker kicks it back to Jeter. Jeter kicks it ahead, deflected by Chernychev, and tapped back to Seifert. Seifert sends a pass that's off the mark, kicked into the air, and ultimately kicked ahead by Mila, cut off by Wager, And the deflection goes to Hope Leshley, who sends it ahead to Frankel. Now back to Levy. Levy sends it over to the far side to Chernychev. Chernychev back to Frankel. Frankel's kick deflected and taken away by Natick. Kicked ahead to Mila. Mila now dribbling with it across midfield. Cut off by Seifert and kicked out of bounds. With the sun going down, that's typically a good litmus test for how much longer this game is going to go, since there are no stadium lights. So both teams probably running out of time to try and score the winning goal. We are currently tied at no score as the throw-in goes down the near side, off ahead, and now collected and kicked towards the middle, but it goes right to Fagnan, who immediately boots it away. Off a bounce, it goes off the head of number 8, which I believe is Tavila. Kicked ahead, passed over to Graves. Graves trying to make something happen, pass back to Tavila, who floats it in, taken off the bounce by Juliana Anastopoulos. That's shot by Emma Tavila. Now off the head of Grady, taken by Tavila, passed down the line. This is Emma Grant trying to gain the edge. Centering kick is boxed out by Fagnan. It deflects out off of her, and so this will be a corner kick for Natick. Dangerous chance for the Red Hawks late here in the second half of what is currently a scoreless ball game. Kira Hacker brings the corner kick towards the box, deflected and kicked away. I believe it was Fagnan with the clearing kick there, as now Vilena Chernychev sends it ahead, finds Amra Ukamadou, who's trying to fight through a defender, but can't do it. It's kicked to Tavila. Now another pass. Stolen away. Bit of a scrum for it now. Taken by Chernychev. Passed through to Ukamadou. Ukamadou to Levy. Levy, pass cut off by Hacker. Kicked all the way to Graves. Kira Hacker has been a wall as the center back. Now a floating pass. Goes to Emma Grant. Grant trying to gain the edge, runs out of room. That'll be a goal kick. Now, Anna, test. Okay. Don't know what happened there. Audio cut out for a second, but we're all good. Fagnan throws it in. Finds Anna Leshley. Now tapped through but cut off by Grady and tapped over to Tavila. Tavila passes ahead to Mila. Now over to Graves. Graves fighting against Seifert and Levy. It's taken away by Levy. Levy kicks it across midfield. It's going to be chased down by Keo White. Or just they'll let it go out of bounds, and that's going to end the game. Your final score here at Skyline Field: the Brookline High Warriors 0, the Natick High Red Hawks 0. A few good chances for both teams, but nothing finds the back of the net today, as we end with a scoreless tie. Natick's record now moves to 9-0-3, while Brookline's record moves to 10-1-2. Juliana Anastopoulos credited with the shutout for Brookline, while Allison Jeter gets the shutout for Natick. So Brookline doesn't quite get the complete revenge, and for the regular season series, it will ultimately go to Natick with 1 win and 1 tie. That's about gonna wrap things up here at Skyline Field. Once again, I'm Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan. It's been a privilege to bring you live coverage of this Division I high school girls soccer contest. On Thursday, Brookline will travel out to Wellesley to take on the Raiders, and I will have live coverage of that one as well, so be sure to tune in for that. And remember, if you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on my upcoming broadcasts. You can send requests for my services via email. My email is in the description, jgms88@gmail.com. You can also follow me on social media at Facebook and Instagram. Links are in the description, as is that email address I just mentioned. And if you want more information about the services I provide and how you can get in touch with me about that, visit my website at jessesports.com. But for today's contest, Brookline 0, Natick 0. I am Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan from Skyline Field, signing off. Thank you all for watching.